All right, let's let's try that again. So good to see you guys. It's December 15th. I think we're on now with the microphone. And yep, there we go. So I want to make sure that we got that. And the market is just seeing a lot of negativity out there. We know that breadth is terrible. Only a few things are holding the market up. And overall, just a lot of stuff are melting down. And I want to show you a bunch of inverse trampoline moves that are happening out there so that you can either one, protect yourself, or two, go short if you need to. The other thing that we're seeing is that we have the FOMC coming up today, so we'll see what kind of stuff happens there. I'm going to show you the UVXY because I am seeing something interesting there about maybe a market bounce, but even though the market might bounce, I'm still not seeing a lot of strength out there, so continue to be careful out there. Teresa, thank you. Happy Merry Christmas to you all as well. And yeah, Austin, I know, can't figure out what the market wants to do. So many mixed signals. Trust me, it is not easy out there. I've been talking to a lot of other professional trader friends, and they're like, this has been the hardest year we've ever had. There are a lot of things that are a lot of people saying that they've never seen this before, even some big traders. So going on to this, if you guys come over to profitpilot.com, and this is the latest newsletter that I wrote. I wrote it on Sunday afternoon, Sunday night. And so we then posted it a little bit later. And mostly what I want to call out here are about the inverse trampoline moves, and that I was showing that there were a lot of big names doing inverse trampoline moves, which can either be a short or it can say that price is not ready to go up yet. Like the long isn't quite ready, so it needs more time or needs to do more sideways, or it's a short. And so if you look here, we've got Tesla. You can see that in through here, we had the Moxie price trigger. One more thing. We had the Moxie price. Well, Moxie indicator was below zero the entire time, despite price being over the hourly 50. We got the hourly on the right. We've got the daily on the left. And that's what we could see. And this is something that I was talking to the Moxie subscribers about, saying, hey, yeah, there's going to be an issue here. I understand that price can go up for a time, but as far as a longer term swing move or something that we can rely on, these are going to be false. And that's exactly what happened because the indicator was below zero the entire time. And I also said that there was an issue with price underneath, or price too far away from the daily 50. And lo and behold, there it goes down to the daily 50. Now the question is the daily 50 going to hold? So then I come over to Roblox, and there were, a lot of people talk about Roblox, and I was talking about here, and I drew a line because that's exactly when I spoke about it. I said, we need to be really careful because that's technically an inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below zero, and we had price going up across a downtrending hourly 50. Now, as you can see, this was a few days ago. I think this was from Friday. And as you can see in the caption, I said, is this going to go, the jury's out, but is this going to actually go down to the daily 50? Right now I can tell you it's not going to go long, and this might be a short. We'll have to see what kind of support this can have, but I would be overall generally concerned about it. Well, we fast forward to today, and lo and behold, there's Roblox right down to the daily 50. So pretty tough stuff happening out there across the board. It is really, really rough out there. I know that the indexes look fine. I know that the bigger names like Apple and a couple other ones are doing all right, but they are starting to get a little bit skosh on what's happening out there. So big problem there. Roblox inverse trampoline move, and I'm just seeing inverse trampoline moves all over the place. So, even if we look over at Amazon, Amazon's not doing anything. In fact, just recently, it had an inverse trampoline move right there. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below zero. We're just seeing this across the board. And if we look at the SPY, it wasn't a perfect inverse trampoline move, but I was able to communicate to my subscribers that this was firing late, and that for all intents and purposes, this was an inverse trampoline move, and that this gap between price and the hourly 50 needed to be filled. And it filled it with glorious fashion. It came all the way down there, and now we're back down to nearly the daily 50 and retesting kind of this low area. And then if we look at, and one more thing to just be concerned about, we don't know yet what's quite happening here, but that might be an inverse trampoline move on the daily chart. I made note of it last week. And if this persists, this is going to be real bad. if this continues real bad, and if we look at something like, say, Google, what we can see here on both the daily and the hourly, you can see here there was an inverse trampoline move right there, and I was calling about that, and you could see that the hourly chart had the same setup as the S&P with that late firing Moxie indicator, that gap between price and the hourly 50, and then price needed to come back down to at least the hourly 50, if not further. And here we are all the way back down here. Now, the only saving grace that might be happening, and we got to wait for the Fed because that's probably going to be the catalyst for this situation. The only saving grace I can think of, and I'll show you a couple other examples, is maybe we get a double bottom here, and maybe this positive divergence starts to work out. I'm cautious. I'm hesitant about that. It is oversold. It's outside of that third ATR, and if it does work to the upside, if it goes up like this, we got to figure out if it's going to run into some resistance. You know, if it's going to run into the hourly 200 or the hourly 50, and if it hits that and then gets knocked over, then we're in for a doozy. And if we look at the NASDAQ, if we look at this, you know, another inverse trampoline move. Look here, price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0. So inverse trampoline move. And again, the only saving grace that I could possibly see, and we don't know if this is actually going to work out to the long side, is there is a double bottom here, and we do have some positive divergence. This may not hold. As I've been having to explain to traders and subscribers and anybody else out there, a double bottom is only a double bottom if it holds. Otherwise, a double bottom is a resting area until price goes lower. So it could hang out here, it could bounce, get rejected, and then go down. It could try to chop around until the 50 comes like this, and then it falls down. I mean, anything can happen. What's going on in here, and you got to think about, you know, the psychology and the battles and just what's happening, is that back over here, price going down, 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 and everybody's wondering, where is this thing going to bounce? And it goes down, 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 and it finally bounces. Now, it happens to be at the daily 50 on this case, but for whatever reason, price decides to bounce, it's a low. And so we traders look at that and say, all right, we've got a low in here. There was a reason for price to bounce. Cool. Now, we should at some point expect price to probably come back down and retest that area, right? So the fact that we had an inverse trampoline move told me that yes, price was going to come back down. We don't know where it's going to come back down, but it's going to retest the low area. And then what's happening is everybody here is looking left, and they're trying to figure out, is this going to hold? Is this actually going to be a double bottom? And you know what? If it holds, it's a double bottom. Price didn't want to go lower. Buyers came in, and now we go up. On the other side of it is that people are here, they're battling it out, and if there are not enough buyers, and if this is not good support, and it starts to break lower, then basically where it starts to break lower, people just get the heck out, because they're looking at that, they say, all right, the test failed. I'm not going to buy it. In fact, I got to get out because probably I set my stop underneath there. And that's why a lot of times you'll see something just cascade lower and lower and lower from a previous low, because if that low didn't hold, then you're going lower. So be careful about the double bottoms and just thinking that a double bottom is going to hold because it's a double bottom. It only holds if it holds. And then if we come over here, you know, case in point, and if we look at the IWM, you know, look what's happening here. It's a double bottom. And I made a post yesterday to my subscribers saying, you know, we're right here at the double bottom. And yes, we do have some positive divergence. But is this going to hold? We don't know yet. And the only thing I could say is until price can get over the 15-minute 50, and until the Moxie indicator can show me some strength, it's not going to hold. And that's why I was like, I'm just not sure. Like, we need to be prepared for double bottoms to hold and work out and something to get oversold. And because remember, some of the biggest up moves are in bearish markets, and some of the biggest up moves are during downtrends because of short covering and short squeezes and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, trade it to the downside if you want, but just realize if it's going to shoot up, you got to get out because short covering rallies. And that's kind of what we're looking at here. Is I wanted to see if it was going to eventually hold. Right now, I don't see anything. Maybe there's going to be something going on with the Fed, but it's still got some work. It really still has some work. I just don't see anything positive here on the 15-minute time frame for the IWM, and it's looking pretty bad. What's up, Imran? Good to see you. And yeah, we'll kind of run through this. Let's see. For short positions that worked out for several days, would you recommend closing them before the Fed meeting since it's a binary random event? Ryan, not necessarily. If you're in a position that is doing pretty well to the short side, it's unlikely that even if it's good Fed news, that it's rapidly going to turn the thing around. All I would say is maybe just tighten up your stop. You don't necessarily need to get out. I mean, if it's working, stay in it. But if you see price start to turn around and break these moving averages to the upside and start to follow the moving averages to the upside, then yeah, it's for the moment, it's changed direction. You know, like in through here for the IWM, you could see that these could never hold the 15-minute 50 except here. And so when price starts to follow the moving average and use them for support, that's when you got to get out. Now, one other thing that I wanted to mention before we get started really too far deep is that tomorrow I'm going to be on stockcharts.com for the pitch. And if you guys want to come check it out, we've got a couple other people who are going to be on there. Stock Charts, I love them. They are great people, love their products and what they do. And we do, in case you guys haven't known, we have the Moxie indicator now on their platform as well. So we are diversifying. We are working on a few other platforms, getting them out there. And then we'll work on getting the scanners and all the other tools that come with the Moxie indicator onto these other platforms. That way you guys can diversify. And that way that if you guys are overseas and can't get an account with Thinkorswim, then you'll have other options. So we're really happy and very proud to be talking about this stuff and showing people that there are other ways to get a hold of the Moxie indicator if you like the way that I teach it and show it. So come check us out on the pitch tomorrow. We're going to post a link in the chat. You guys should be seeing that now. And then we can go talk and chat tomorrow, see what's going on. All right, so let me kind of come back up here. Joe, let's see, Sava. You know, I keep looking at these things, and it basically looks like a slow melt to the downside, which is why I am short on Sava. Now, I understand in the past it has bounced a bit, but it seems to me like things are a little bit worse. And you know what? I've heard the old saying, like, there is no such thing as a triple bottom. So basically, we're now at the third bottom, and is it going to hold? Well, right now it's not holding, which is good because we are short. What I will say is I studied this to try and make sure I could figure out if we needed to get out at some point. But basically, in through here, the last few times that price went up, is it started to hold the 15-minute 50. Kind of the same thing I just said about the IWM. So I'm looking for price to start holding moving averages to tell me if I'm wrong. But other than that, this thing looks like it's really getting pretty heavy. You know, third time's a charm, hopefully, on these moves to the downside. And it seems to me as long as price can continue to stay under and follow these moving averages to the downside, should be pretty good. Also, Joe, FLGT, I think this is actually going to be a great, great trade. Partly because if we look here at the weekly and monthly, it's been going sideways for a very long time. It's starting to now break underneath the monthly 10. It's underneath the weekly 50. The Moxie indicator is below 0, so that all looks pretty good. And then really, if we look at this, I kind of compared it to DDD because what we can see is we have the daily 50 underneath the daily 200, so that's bearish. We have the Moxie indicator below 0. We have the 8 below the 21. We have the 50 below the 200 on the hourly. We have the Moxie indicator below 0. And we have an inverse trampoline move here on the hourly. And then here, price has not been able to hold any kind of moving averages. In fact, it's starting to roll back over again. So, and we've got some squeezes on this thing. It looks to me like it's kind of just doing whatever until it starts to melt down. And this is what we've been seeing is something that could kind of hold, kind of hold, kind of hold. When they finally let go, they just, you know, just all the wind comes out of them. And so I think FLGT should be a pretty great trade for us. Now, Julio, I know I'm a little concerned about this thing. If I were to, I'm not in it. I know that there are some trades going on with it. So I'll just give my 2 cents and you guys can kind of take a look at it yourselves. My concern, as with what I began this morning with this session, was that I'm seeing a ton of inverse trampoline moves all over the place. And I showed you with Roblox, I showed you with Tesla. You can go look at the newsletter. And unfortunately, with Ford, I'm seeing the same thing. I'm seeing an inverse trampoline move on the hourly time frame. So I would express caution. And the other thing I'm looking at is if you look before, you can see that there was a big gap between price and the daily 50. And you can see that there continues to be a big gap between price and the daily 50. So that has me worried because if the hourly 200 cannot be support, which it's right there, it's exactly right there, and the Moxie indicator is below zero. If nothing here is support, then the next support is the daily 50, and it might actually go lower. So, I'd be careful about that. That's what I'm seeing. And then AZO, I have not looked at this. Seems pretty decent, but I've been having a hard time trusting the market, basically. Real hard time trusting the market. It looks like it bounced off of the daily 50 on earnings. Great. But what the other thing I'll kind of call to your attention is that this seems to like to ebb and flow. And every time it gets the third ATR, it apparently likes to pull back. Now, it so far has bounced from those pullbacks, but just keep in mind that it's at an area that it seems to like to pull back. And actually, if we use a line here, looks to me like it might kind of be ready to pull back. So do with that what you will. And then let's see, KRBN. Oh yeah. Well, obviously, that thing jumped the shark, right? So I've actually got a name I want to show you about something like that because we talked about this with the market itself, the S&P, up, 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 and then a little explosion, and then that's the blow off top, and that's kind of what we see there. So I would not be surprised to see KRBN continue to kind of move down from that because that was a blow off top. Much, I think, in the same way that I'm looking at Boot. I think Boot was a blow off top. And this is kind of what we're seeing when markets top. We start seeing bear markets and markets topping. Because look at this. You get Boot. Nice, 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 nice. And then boop, blow off top. Like, why? That's exactly why we call it a blow off top. It's the exuberance. It's like boop, 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 boop. And then just blows its load and keels on over after that. I mean, it looks like it's done. And you know what it did? How's this? Look at this hourly chart. Inverse trampoline move. I am seeing them all over the freaking place. Okay? So I can't quite pressure that enough or be enthusiastic enough about that, of what I'm seeing. AMD. We didn't see an inverse trampoline move, but yet again, that giant gap between price and the daily 50. And what you will see is a significant negative divergence. Notice that price kept trying to go up. Notice the Moxie indicator kept going down. And in through here is where it started to get messy, and then it rolled over. And then you get a little bounce right smack into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50 with the Moxie indicator very far below zero. Now, on the flip side, maybe, if we are starting to get, maybe if the Fed comes out dovish, maybe if we see a move to the upside, maybe if AMD is going to find some support, maybe it's going to find support at the daily 50. Maybe we're seeing some divergence. I don't even see it on the 15 or on the hourly chart. Maybe it's on the 15. Maybe what we can do is look at this as an undercut and rally. Maybe. These are giant maybes. And what that reminded me of is if we look at the UVXY, the only consolation I have right now to seeing that maybe the market is going to bounce from the Fed is that the UVXY tends to not go up when the moving average is going down. So what this could tell me is that the UVXY has bounced into resistance and it might actually start rolling over again. And if it rolls over, then we should see some upside in the market. The other thing that tells me this is because based on just my normal trading rules, that this should be a shortable event on any other normal ticker. Like that's exactly what AMD just did, right? I just showed you that AMD bounced into the underside of its downtrending hourly 50 with the Moxie indicator below zero, and it went down. Now, the UVXY, I understand, is a completely different vehicle, but for the most part, the setups hold and work. And right now, price is bouncing right up into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50 with the Moxie indicator below zero. And if we just look at the past, any time that price tries to go up, across a downtrending hourly 50, it doesn't hold. Not until we actually see the hourly 50 in an uptrend. We see the hourly 50 in an uptrend, and even through here, we start to see the hourly 50 in an uptrend. So this, if I were to only read the UVXY, it's telling me we might get a little reprieve from the market going down. Now, the market going up doesn't necessarily mean it's going to turn a whole lot of names around, because we have clearly been seeing that most of the market is melting down despite the indexes being up. So we almost have to just trade by individual names and less so by the individual market. Okay. So it's kind of the concern and the worry that I'm putting out there, and just telling you guys to seriously be careful out there, because it's super tough. All right, then NVDA, NVIDIA. Now this one was, look at this. This was a perfect inverse trampoline move right there. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0. You could even see it leading price up, Moxie indicator down. I mean, look at this. This is tough stuff. Look at this. The Moxie indicator has just been going down for, when is that? Early November. It's been over a month. It's been over a month since the Moxie indicator has started moving down. And you can see that there was a giant gap between price and the daily 50. Now, again, if we are going to start seeing some strength and maybe things are going to bounce, big names like this being at the daily 50, just like AMD, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we'll see some strength. Maybe we'll see a bounce. Careful, though. Maybe the bounce is into resistance. And careful, it does not necessarily have to bounce, because you can see here that Tesla failed the daily 50. So just understand a lot of things are not working right now. You got to protect yourself. Be careful out there, and don't necessarily just trust anything. So Rob, there you go. There's Tesla. I just don't know even what to say about this. You know, we're trying to figure out if price is going to bounce at some point. Maybe it's getting a little oversold, sure, but I don't quite see anything yet. If I were to try and pull a rabbit out of my hat and just kind of talk about stuff that maybe if it's going to show up, you know, maybe this is the leg, the heel, the arch of the foot, the ball of the foot, and then we could see if price is going to go up. You know, maybe we're seeing some positive divergence here on the 15, but nothing concrete has showed up yet. It's just not there yet. So, Carlos, yeah, I've been noticing, yeah, the consumer staples. So I was trying to trade SFM Sprouts, and it popped up on us, but go figure, it tagged our stop, which I think I'm just going to not use stops anymore, because I keep getting tapped out because I have a large audience behind me. And I think that people out there, institutions or market makers or somebody out there, can see our stops and they're running them. Because if you look, here is my stop, here's where price went, and then it reversed. Like it's almost too obvious. So I need to change my tactic, because we're getting taken advantage of, and it's extremely frustrating, because I look at something like this and I'm saying, same thing with AMD, Tesla, Roblox. This is an inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0, and there is a giant gap between price and the hourly 50. This shouldn't be up here. Now, I understand it can push and it can go up there for a while and whatever, but as far as a sustained move, this shouldn't be up there. And if we also back out and look at the weekly chart and the monthly chart, you know, look right where we are. Look at this line. You can see that we are right here at a all-time previous high. Like, look how much resistance there is, which is part of why I went to short it. So maybe it pushed a little bit further than what my stop was, but I don't think this thing should be up here. I expect it to pull back at some point, and it's really frustrating that my stops can be seen like that and get hammered. So that's what I'm seeing there. And then another inverse, let's see, what was the other inverse trampoline move that we were just seeing? Oh, Microsoft. Now check this out. This is what I'm talking about. Look at Microsoft. Here is an inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0. This looks just like Sprouts. And notice the giant gap between price and the hourly 50. And what did it do yesterday? It imploded. Now again, maybe the silver lining, maybe the thing that's going to help hold stuff up a little bit, is the fact that price is back to the daily 50. And maybe there's some positive divergence. But I am being extremely emphatic about all of these maybes, because Some of them aren't holding. Some things just keep melting down, and the double bottoms are not carrying. Katie, let's see. As far as QCOM, I don't think so. I've been talking about this one. So Katie, notice everything I've been talking about today. First things first, there's a giant gap between price and the daily 50. When price is too far away from moving averages, they do tend to want to come back there. It's a question of when and how. This might be the market environment to where that's starting to happen. So just notice that that's some risk because price likes to follow the moving averages. The next thing I'll show you is that here's the Moxie price trigger to the downside. That means that the momentum and energy has now gone negative. Now look, here is an inverse trampoline move on the hourly time frame. You can see the line that I drew here. This is when I started talking about it. I started mentioning it to our subscribers earlier this week or late last week, however many days that was. And I said, look, guys, this is an inverse trampoline move on this thing. I know that people are calling about QCOM being strong and whatever. I said, I'm not so sure. And if you guys looked at everything that I've shown you today, I think you'll see why I'm pointing this out and saying I think that there's a giant concern here. Now, it may take a little bit for it to work itself off, but the Moxie indicator, if that thing keeps staying below 0 and can't go up, this thing's going down. And I wouldn't be surprised if it goes down to the daily 50. All right. Breezy, well, I guess we're out of time, but I've been showing you what I believe to be pretty much picture perfect setups and entry points using the Moxie method for shorts. Just take everything I've talked to you about shorts and reverse them. Look for trampoline moves and look for bounces off of the 50 and look for positive divergence. Just take everything I've talked about today, flip it upside down, and then you've got long entries. But I am not seeing that right about now. And let me just, before we wrap up, I saw you BBIG. I don't know what you're so excited about this, Marcos. I don't get it. I don't see anything to really be excited about. Even if this thing bounces a little bit, I don't know. I'd be careful. I know technically that's a trampoline move right there, but this thing is so far down in the dumps that it may not really go. It might just kind of huck around. Yeah, Katie, I'm telling you, the Moxie indicator is a wonderful tool. So if you don't have it, pick it up. If you do have it, make sure you're using it. It's a good cross-reference, especially what's going on right now. All right. As I said, so Imran, the Fed meeting is the 2 hours before the market close. So notice with the NASDAQ, inverse trampoline move. All right. So we're seeing this all over the place. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to get going. Remember that we have the pitch on stockcharts.com tomorrow. So come check it out. We'll have a little bit more long form conversation about this stuff, and I'll show you some of the things I'm seeing differently than from today. And yeah, have a good time. We'll see you there.